right, everybody, it is here. It is the NFL playoffs time. It actually starts in about an hour, as it is 2:20 on Saturday right now. I don't know when this video is going to get released because I do have a big video on my main channel coming up, so it might be just a little bit past Wild Card Weekend. But here's proof right here. Don't know if you can see that. 2/19, January 13th. There's proof on what time it is, okay? But anyways, we got a bunch of games to talk about. Chiefs made it in. We only clinched it in the second to last week. I'm really scared for our matchup tonight. But we'll see what I think about that there. Is your team in? I want to know all that and more. And, yeah, if your team's not in, who do you want to win the Super Bowl? And with that said, let's get started with the matchup starting in just a little over an hour. Houston versus the Cleveland Browns. Houston, for me, is a team that I have been rooting for all year. At the very beginning of the year, I was always like, yeah, I don't feel like CJ's the guy. I was also like, I don't feel like Bryce Young is the guy. Thought the rookie quarterbacks were kind of a little overrated. Then CJ Stroud showed up, and CJ Stroud was a living beast. He was a beast on the field. He played amazing football all year and deserved to get to the playoffs. And it came down to that Indianapolis game where they should have lost. It was not Texans defense fault. That was a wide open pass that was dropped. But I'm just so happy that CJ Stroud, the young rookie, came in and could do this. They have a tough matchup against the Cleveland Browns, who went through so many quarterbacks this year. They finally settled on Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco's been going off. He's been being crazy. The Browns, I think, have the best defense. I think they are a team to beat in this playoffs. I think that they have a solid chance at the Super Bowl. I really do. And so, unfortunately, I want both teams to do good this postseason. I want the Texans to win. I will be rooting for the Texans today. But I don't feel like they're going to win. And against an elite Joe Flacco and an elite Browns team, I personally feel like Cleveland is going to take the dub and move on to play Baltimore, which would be a Joe Flacco revenge game against Baltimore, which would be kind of cool. And then we got Kansas City versus Miami. The KC Chiefs right here. Got the Mahomes jersey on, wearing this for the rest of the day. I'm hyped. Versus the Miami Dolphins. And there is like a couple reasons why I think the Chiefs could win this one. Number one, we beat them in Germany. We were one of the few games that could hold Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to not be literal gods. We played good football that day. Our defense went off, and I think that was pretty good. Number two, the weather is cold. Miami is a hot weather team. They got nice weather where they come from. They're not used to negative degree weather. That's another thing that can make Kansas City win because we're used to that sometimes. It's not a crazy thing, but we're used to that. And number three, playoff Mahomes. I mean, obviously, Mahomes hasn't played horrible this year. Mahomes hasn't played great, but he hasn't played bad. It's mainly been the wide receivers, but the Chiefs team is a playoff team. Every year, I'm kind of just like, sometimes I'll be like, Chiefs are really good. But this year, it's kind of like, man, a lot of the years, I'm like, they're kind of meh. And then we end up going to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, playoff Mahomes is here. Degree weather, terrible weather, and we beat the Dolphins before. I think we can take this one. Dolphins are another team that I wouldn't be mad if they won. I would be rooting for the Dolphins to win it all if they won. I just don't think they're going to win, and because Kansas City is my favorite team, I got to go Kansas City with this one. Let's move on to an NFC. Actually, let's just finish the AFC. Buffalo is playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that I'm shocked that they're here. I am shocked that they're here. They were not playing good. They're playing awful. And the Mason Rudolph came, and he's undefeated. And, you know, I kept being like, yeah, I feel like the Steelers are just an overrated team. I never really liked the quarterback, Kenny Pickett. I like the team. I just don't like Kenny Pickett. And the amount of low effort that players are playing this year kind of makes me mad. But Mason Rudolph comes in, and he's playing great football. He's proving that, hey, we can contend in the playoffs, but you're playing a Bills team who has been on fire. They had a rough first half last week, but they went off the second half. They just completely dove for it and got the dub in every sense of the word. It got postponed to Monday, so because it's way too snowy in Buffalo. That's another thing. Well, Pittsburgh is used to playing in the snow, but the weather could be a factor here. But the Bills, who have been playing elite football ever since midseason, when I was like, I don't think that they're a good team. Ever since then, all of a sudden they've been playing great football. And for a Pittsburgh team, they should just be one and done. They should definitely be one and done out there. I wouldn't be terribly mad if Pittsburgh won, but I don't feel like Mason Rudolph, even though he plays good, I don't feel like that he's going to win a playoff game this year. Tampa Bay and Philadelphia is another game, and it's no specific order. I just got a bracket here, and I'm just reading it off what they have on the bracket. There's no specific order on what days they play. Tampa Bay and Philadelphia, this is a fascinating one because Philadelphia has been playing awful. At the beginning of the year, they're like, we're all them. We're just the best. In the middle of the year, they're the best. They beat the Chiefs, coming out the best team in the league. I mean, I started to hate them. I still hate them right now, but they were the best team in the league. And then they started playing terrible. They almost lost to the Giants. Then they lost to the Cardinals. And they lost to the Giants this past week. 2 easy wins. Easy wins to almost secure the division. It's not like they haven't played their starters. They played the starters. They've just been playing awful football. Every week's kind of like a game. What injury will Jalen Hurts get injured? We got head for his head and tails for his hand. Let's see what happens. Oh, looks like Jalen Hurts is getting injured in the hand today. That's kind of the game they've been playing. A lot of the injuries they got. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay hasn't been playing the best football. Easily they won the division. Everybody gives this division too much hate. I personally don't feel that, but Tampa Bay hasn't been playing the best amount of football that you've seen, but they've definitely been outplaying the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't feel like Philadelphia is going to get any better in this postseason. I don't feel like they're going to start going off. I think Tampa Bay is going to beat them. I feel like Tampa Bay is going to beat them. Of course, they're not going to move on against San Francisco, but I do have a feeling that Tampa Bay has a nice chance to beat Philadelphia the way they've been playing. This is a good game. Revenge game. Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. They got traded, and now they're playing their opposite teams. This is going to be a game. Lions have been going off this year. They took the 3 seed. They deserve it. Rams have been playing great football. They've lost a couple games, but they've been playing great football to me. And so part of me wants to say the Rams are going to win this one because they've won a Super Bowl. Detroit's not used to being in the playoffs. This is easily the hardest wild card game that it is for me to predict. Like, it's almost as hard as the Dolphins game. It is as hard as the Dolphins game, Dolphins and Chiefs game. But I just can't think. On one hand, I think that the Rams are a great team and that they're going to win this one. On the other hand, I feel like Detroit is great. I'm going to stick with what I wrote in my notes and say Detroit is going to move on. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be great, but I feel like it deserves on who's on the defensive side. The Detroit Lions defense is pretty good. Now, the Rams, they got Matthew Stafford, they got Puka Nacua, they got a great team. But they're also playing a good defense, and also the offense for Detroit is elite. Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, what's his name? Not Jamal Williams. I forget his name. Jared Goff. That's driving me crazy. Sam Laporta is another really great guy. Sam Laporta is another great guy, too. Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy I was thinking of. He's another elite quarterback overall. I feel like, not quarterback, but running back. I feel like their Detroit Lions offense is really good, and I feel like the defense is pretty decent. I think it's going to go all down to that one. I think it could go into overtime. This is going to be the game of the week, I think. But I'd go Detroit to win this one, and it's going to be a great revenge match. Dallas versus Green Bay. We don't even have to talk about this one. Green Bay is a team that they can play good. They can play pretty good. But they're also, I feel like, them and the Steelers are the 2 teams, the 7 seeds, that I feel like could easily just get replaced by somebody else. I feel like the Saints could stand a better chance at making the playoffs for the Steelers. I think, well, not Jacksonville. Steelers have been playing better, but I think the Colts should have been in for the Steelers. I think those are just kind of things that the 7 seeds aren't that strong this year. And even though Green Bay has a young rookie team, they have a pretty great team. They're playing the Dallas Cowboys, who we all know don't choke until the conference round. So we don't even really need to talk about that one. So Dallas, Dak Prescott's been having a year. CeeDee Lamb's been having a year. It's just, they're obviously the overdog here. And while Green Bay is an okay team, they're not the Cowboys. They are really not the Cowboys. And so that moves us on to the divisional rounds. Alright, so I predicted Cleveland would beat Houston. That means it will be a Joe Flacco revenge game against Baltimore. And no, he's not going to get his revenge. No, not at all. Baltimore is an elite team. They've proved time and time again why they're the best team in the league. I said that, yeah, they're a good team, but I feel like it's going to be, obviously, San Francisco is going to win the Super Bowl all year. And then San Francisco lost a couple games. They lost 3 in a row again. And so now you got Baltimore that is absolutely just going off, hands down. Every game that they played, minus the one that they didn't play their starters, they've just been playing elite. They scored 50 on the Dolphins. It's just been obviously the best team in the league, and I don't think that they're going to be taken down by the Cleveland Browns. I really don't feel like Cleveland could beat them, and Cleveland's a good team. They got a good defense, and they did beat Baltimore earlier in the year, but with the way the Ravens have been playing this year, it's obviously Baltimore for me is going on in the conference round. And with me predicting Kansas City and Buffalo to win, that bring the 2 and 3 seed to play in a great game. I really want to say Buffalo. I really think that Buffalo has a chops to win, but we all know that they always lose in heartbreaking fashion, and I think Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes could take them down in heartbreaking fashion. Maybe I'm just a little biased, but Patrick Mahomes has been playing, they haven't been playing great, but obviously, like I said earlier, playoff Mahomes is different. Playoff Bills, I feel like they always just lose in a heartbreaking fashion. I don't think that they have the chops to go to the conference round, so I'd go Kansas City to get in this one. Maybe it's just a little bit of bias, but I think they're returning to the conference round again. Plus, Mahomes has never missed a conference round once he's been playoff quarterback. Tampa Bay and San Francisco, because I predicted Tampa Bay to win. Another one we don't really have to talk about. Tampa Bay, I do think is outplaying Philadelphia. I do think that they could beat Philadelphia. Now they're playing the San Francisco 49ers, who they haven't been looking great, but they're playing Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is an underrated team here. I think they could win a wildcard game, but I don't think they could beat this elite defense combined with Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey and all them. Maybe they were just not playing their hardest. And they already clinched the NFC. They didn't lose 3 games in a row. They beat Washington. What am I talking about? But they're playing in the NFC. They already clinched the NFC. And so why play their hardest? And so I feel like they could come out here having a week's rest and be like, all right, guys, we did the bye week, we did the trade deadline, we got that. And now that we had another week's rest, here we go. We are going to play good. And I feel like they are a team to beat in the playoffs. Unfortunately, I will be rooting for Tampa Bay. Even though I do like Brock Purdy, I really like Baker Mayfield, but I do think that San Francisco would take this one. And then we got Detroit and Dallas. Like I said, Dallas doesn't choke until the conference game, so I would think I'm rooting for Detroit Lions to win. Not Detroit. I think I'm rooting for Dallas to win this game. Detroit is a team, again, they're solid, but they do lose a lot of good games. They played earlier in the year, and Dallas did win, even though there was a terrible call by the refs. But like I said, Dak Prescott's having a year, CeeDee Lamb's having a year, the whole roster is having a year, and so now that they're playing Detroit, who will be a great game, 2 versus 3 seed again, I do feel like Dallas could win this one and go to the conference round and choke in the conference round again. And so Dallas would move on. That brings us to our 2 conference round. It'd be Baltimore and Kansas City in the AFC is my predictions. Real quick, I don't want to apologize for my dog barking. Anyways, Baltimore and Kansas City in the conference round. Kansas City, again, playoff Mahomes are great, and so much of me wants to say Kansas City. I got to go with my wits on what's more predicting, and I think I'd go Baltimore to win this one. Like I said, Baltimore's an elite team. I don't feel like the Chiefs' defense is going to be able to take down this offense. This is going to be another good game, specifically if Kansas City plays like they do, plays some great football. And so, I mean, it could be a good game, but Baltimore is just, like I said, the best team in the league, and they are too powerful this year. You see what happens when Lamar doesn't get injured halfway down the year? They are the best team in the league, and I believe Baltimore will go to the Super Bowl in the AFC and unfortunately knock out my Kansas City Chiefs. San Francisco and Dallas, we got a rematch from last year's conference championship. Again, this is another one. I want to say Dallas. I do, but I know that they always choke in the conference round, and I just don't feel like they can make a playoff appearance. Even because, they got San Francisco get 2 weeks rest. Those starters get 2 weeks rest. They've been playing great. You know what happened last time they got a week's rest? They were winning, and I just don't feel like that can slow them down. And specifically with Dallas, actually, they choked in the divisionals last year. My bad. I still think they're going to beat Detroit, though. Dallas, in a great matchup against San Francisco. San Francisco is just too elite, and I just don't feel like Dallas could beat them. And so it's the number 1 seeds on each team. These are some of the best teams I've seen in recent football memory. Super Bowl will be San Francisco versus Baltimore Ravens. Not only because the Super Bowl logos or whatever, but that's just what I feel. This is going to be a game. It's going to be a game to predict here. It's going to be a game. It's really hard for me to decide Baltimore or San Francisco, because San Francisco, obviously they're great, but Baltimore beat them. I'm going Baltimore. We got to repeat history here. Baltimore, they did so good against Brock Purdy. It was a game to remember, and Baltimore's defense and offense just shut out the Niners. And, but their offense, this is the playoffs. See, that's why it's so hard to predict them, because both of these teams are elite. I'm going history repeats itself. I think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl and be your Super Bowl champions, and I wouldn't be too mad with that. I don't mind the Ravens. I think it's overdue for Lamar to get a Super Bowl ring. So that is my predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed this series all year. What did you guys think? Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? What are your playoff predictions? This is just mine. All year I've done the NFL week predictions. You can go check them out on my channel, MooreZMC, the one that this is going to be uploaded on. I'm definitely coming back to return to this series next year. It's been a blast. This year, I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to go get ready to go watch some Wild Card, and thank you for watching this video. With that said, subscribe to the Nerd Army, or the Chiefs Army, actually. Peace out.